All right, hello. Today's lecture is going to be on with music therapy with individuals who are elderly. And please read the chapter in your book that coincides with this lecture. So again, look for the chapter on individuals who are elderly. In my experience, because I work with a lot of nursing homes will let people enter at age 55, but generally speaking, elderly is 65 and older. This is the fastest growing population that we have. So no matter what your degree is, whatever you're studying, you will be working with elderly in some way, shape, or form. Reasons why this is just the largest group of people is many factors, but one is people are living longer. So if you think about the oldest person in the world, I know recently there was a woman actually in Indiana who was celebrating her 113th birthday. So if you think of age 65 to 113, that's a huge age range for a population. Also, medical advance, so people are living longer, they're healthier longer, they're also able to have medical procedures at such an older age now. So it used to be at a certain point, certain age, they'd say, you know what, it's really not worth the operation or the procedure to cure this disease. But now people are having medical procedures at an older age and recovering well from them. So there's lots of reasons. Again, read in your book, because I'm going to throw at you, there's so many characteristics and you're all aware of that. There's biological changes as we get older. It's a harder time regulating temperature. But the one I want to mention is lung capacity, because music therapists, we do work a lot with lung capacity. They say that a healthy 20-year-old, which I think is a lot of you watching this, that a healthy 20-year-old is only using about 70% of their lung capacity, unless you are someone that's doing relaxation. Because when you do relaxation, you're breathing in deep, using your lung to its capacity, and that is a healthy thing to do. So relaxation, or if you are actually doing exercise, that's another great way to give your lungs a huge, great workout. But otherwise, if we're not using our lungs and we're just shallow breathing all day long and we're getting older, so then you start having some lung issues. That's again why pneumonia is such a huge threat for our aged population. People that are older who, when they speak, they can hardly project. So there's lots of lung issues. But as we get older, if we're not exercising or doing relaxation, that lung capacity is a really huge challenge. Strength and stamina. Again, if you're not using it, you lose it. So I always love to, in class, a lot of times I ask students, tell me about aged people that are defying this, and people that are past the age of 65 working full time. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Or they're out mowing their lawns and they're like in their 70s or 80s. I'm sure you know someone, I hope you do, that is defying all of this that I'm telling you. Hearing acuity, sense of smell and taste, it takes longer to recover from injury. There's medical issues, and this is generally what I say. If you meet someone 65 and older, you can probably assume that they're dealing with some medical issue, whether you can see it or not. Now remember, some challenges, we can't see them. Diabetes, you might not notice someone is having that challenge, or that they're dealing maybe with some hearing challenges, or they're dealing with some vision challenges, and you're not aware of that. So if you meet anyone 65 and older, and they're out defying all these, they're doing that with probably a medical concern. just kind of cool when you meet an elderly person and they're out rocking it and they're doing something, or maybe they're challenged and they're still going out and trying to work, or they're going to social activities. Know that they are really overcoming great obstacles, because again, they could just choose to stay home, which is the worst thing any of us could do, unless they're in this situation where we're told to stay home. But I'm talking about in general. There's psychological changes as we get older, and that could be that we, if we're dealing with medical issues, might withdraw from social settings, which is always a really unfortunate thing. Someone might have a decreased ability to adapt to changes. So again, if we're not flexing adaptability, it becomes harder as we get older. So again, make sure you're doing new things, adapting to new things, going with the flow. Increased preoccupation with self. Now, if you've got someone that's not going out and they're not adapting, a lot of times they start over consuming their thought patterns with themselves. They're thinking only about their medical issues. They're thinking about their isolation too much. They're only concerned about themselves. That is a dangerous situation, because that allows anxiety and depression to come right on in. So again, there's mental challenges as we get older, dealing with anxiety, depression, substance abuse, schizophrenia, sleep disorders, Alzheimer's, and then of course social changes. So again, a person as they age, they might have to deal with loss of their social status. That might be really hard for someone depending on their line of profession, or maybe even their position in their family. A loss of socializing opportunities, fear of losing independence. They say some of the hardest family issues with an aged person would be if you have to take someone's driver's license away. That's when you might start noticing some major changes if they cannot adapt to that. If someone is being told that they may need to use this walker or this wheelchair for their safety, you then may notice that they become challenged in other areas if they're not used to adapting. I want to talk about certain pockets of the elderly, because it's such a vast, huge range of people that they can be broken into little categories. And I'm going to give you some goal ideas in case you're choosing this for your group project, which is probably going to be an individual project. You may choose to set up a session for someone that is elderly. So let me break it up into a couple groups. There are those that are well elderly. These people can live on their own. They may choose to live in a retirement home, which is only for the well elderly. That means, again, that they can take care of themselves. They are fine. But they may choose a retirement home because it becomes easier to be social. There's more opportunities, there's more people. You don't have to drive across town to see your one living cousin that for a social opportunity. You'll be meeting new people at a retirement home. But if you chose this population, the goals that you may want to be working on would definitely be motor skills. The well elderly know that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so they have lots of exercise classes. They have Zumba Gold. They have Tai Chi. Again, you would want to choose an exercise for the elderly. Another goal area would be academics, not cognitive, but academics. They are challenging themselves to learn new material. So when I do my tone chimes groups at retirement homes, I'm teaching them new skills. Again, they might know how to read music, but I'm giving them new music and they're adapted to it and they're learning new music. It's an academic skill, something new to challenge their brain. And then the other main goal area would be social involvement. All right, I want to talk about the next category of the elderly would be the elderly who are semi-independent, or maybe they're cared for at home or in a nursing home. This is a wide range, so let me say it again. Semi-independent, that means they might be living at home if they've got someone checking in at them, or they could be at a nursing home. There are places that are called assisted living. that would be this population. And I'm also going to branch out even into long-term care, same general area. If you're not familiar with nursing homes have units for each of these sects of elderly. So they have short-term, they have rehab, they have long-term care. So not every area of the nursing home is the same. Goals, if you're considering this population, they still need to have motor involvement. Again, you have to move. And then they might be working more on cognitive skills, just remembering the stuff that they have learned before. So reminiscence, name that tune. They might be talking about past musicians, music, songs. Again, just excelling at what they've already learned. That makes them feel successful, makes them feel good, keeps their brain going, remembering what they have learned. And of course, also working on social skills, because we all need to be social. Another category would be any of the elderly that are dealing with Alzheimer's disease or related disorders, dementia. Dementia is this huge, big umbrella term for memory impairments. So a person can have dementia, and it's not just because they're aged. They could also have like Parkinson's or MS, or they could even have substance abuse dementia, and so they could even be younger for that. But Alzheimer's, I want to mention Alzheimer's. I believe this is a test question. Alzheimer's disease is the fastest growing memory impairment. I don't mean it's the fastest as in like you get it and then you pass away with it. You can have it for a while, but it is becoming very prevalent for people that are in their 70s and 80s. It's a high percentage of people dealing with Alzheimer's. So this is, again, it's a degenerative brain disorder, irreversible cognitive decline. It also affects their memory, their orientation, their language, their abstract thinking, the ability to complete simple mathematic calculations. So again, it's hard to fathom Alzheimer's if you're not familiar with it. The beginning stages, you may never know someone has Alzheimer's, because that person is going to be cueing themselves. You'll notice they'll have sticky notes all over. They've got their calendar, they've got their schedule. I've even seen people beginning stages of Alzheimer's that have directions right on their steering wheel. So again, they're aware that they're having a hard time recalling why they went into the kitchen. And so they've got lots of cues. They might share with a loved one that they are finding that they're having a hard time with their thought processes or their memory skills. But Alzheimer's has different stages. So there's a beginning stage, there's this middle stage that is very frustrating. They are aware that they are forgetting things and highly agitated, can be highly agitated about it. There's also something called sundowners, which is a true happening, and it affects this population. And it is like when the sun goes down, your sweetest grandma, grandpa, sweet, sweet, sweet all day, smiling, cooing at the grandbabies. But then around like 5 o'clock, this person can actually become physically combative. They can become verbally aggressive. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, especially on someone that you know and love, and you're thinking, this is not them at all. It does affect people that have Alzheimer's. I just like to mention that in case you're not familiar with that true happening called sundowners. People that work in units that are for Alzheimer's are aware of this time frame. And I always suggest too to have classical music or music from their time period playing around 2 or 3 o'clock and just kind of preparing them for this time to happen. As the disease progresses, again, it keeps getting more and more challenged with memory and problem solving skills. So this person may forget their family members, they may forget where they're at, they may even forget. It gets so progressive that they may forget how to swallow. That just blows my mind, because you think that's something that we could recall to do. But again, that's understanding this disease, this very challenging disease. So I have a lot of people that follow me when they know I go to Alzheimer's units. I have family members that are aware of when I'm coming, because their loved ones, if you put words to music, your brain stores it twice. So someone with Alzheimer's who they don't remember their name, they don't remember their loved one, is now singing songs. And it just doesn't end there. They can even continue conversations after these songs. They may recall family trips, they may recall family members. So, and it's not magical, remember, that's just how our brain works, right brain, left brain. So this disease, it's so challenging because your short-term memory goes first, and what you're left is with your long-term memory. Here is the challenge, and this is our very next category for the elderly, are the caregivers. So the caregivers have their own category here, especially the caregivers that are dealing with someone with Alzheimer's, or also any other dementia-related disorder, but especially Alzheimer's. If you think about it, a person with Alzheimer's needs to be cued all day long. When we're going to eat, how we get dressed for the day, who we're talking to, what's the season. So the caregiver, a lot of times, is maybe a child or a grandchild. Well, unfortunately, the person that has Alzheimer's, who do you think they're going to remember? Their own child, or are they going to more accurately remember their parent? Well, the person with Alzheimer's is going to remember their parent. Their parent is probably no longer around, and their caregiver is their child, whom they don't recall. So it can be very frustrating for a caregiver. Here's another one. Someone with Alzheimer's, their caregiver, if they've been married multiple times, their caregiver is probably their second or third spouse. But the person that the Alzheimer's patient is going to recall is going to be their first spouse. So again, if I could write a book, it would be on caregivers. I see amazing people. I see amazing spouses cueing their loved one about their first marriage. Why? Because it allows them to have memories. It allows them to have conversations. It allows them to have a smile. It allows them to have quality of life. It's incredible what caregivers do. So a music therapist is going to keep that in mind and do songs for the caregivers, so the caregivers can keep giving care. If it's at a nursing home, I'm going to throw in songs on my set list that are current, and it's going to be for the caregiver. And next thing I know, the nurse or the activity director is dancing, is hugging on the patient, is giving medicines, but also touching them, tapping them, or singing to them as they're giving them medicines. So again, giving care to the caregivers, because they have the toughest job of all. Yes, there we go. That is our lecture on the elderly.